Some Democratic lawmakers, criminal justice, labor, and other community groups urging California voters to reject Proposition 36.
Want to reverse us back to those days where they could lock up as many black and brown people as possible.
Prop 36 will ask voters in November to raise penalties for repeat thieves and fentanyl dealers.
A few moments later.
Lisa and Golston, let's start with Proposition 36, which asked voters to ramp up the consequences for fentanyl and theft-related crimes. It turns some misdemeanors into felonies. So this has passed overwhelmingly. The vote tally so far showing 70% of voters approved it versus the 29% who would not. Despite the broad support from voters in both parties, Governor Newsom and Democratic legislative leaders were major opponents of this.
A few moments later.
It's a felony? New laws. Stealing is a felony. And this is Orange County. They don't play.
No, they don't play. Repeat, shoplifters here in California are learning the hard way that Prop 36 is now in effect.
So lo and behold, the state of California made crime illegal again, and things are happening. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the great state of California. Now, on November 4th, 2014, the good people of the state of California passed Proposition 47. Now, this proposition did a lot of damage to the state of California. It reduced some felonies down to misdemeanors and let thousands of felons out of prison.
But last night, California voters voted 56 to 43% for a new law that will reduce common drug and theft crimes from felonies to misdemeanors.
A person carrying methamphetamine in their pocket down North Chester yesterday would have been arrested on a felony and could have been sentenced to prison. Today, no.
Under Prop 47, there will be little to no jail time for anyone found possessing drugs such as methamphetamine or cocaine. And any shoplifting, forgery, or fraud under $950 is now considered a misdemeanor.
We can't arrest someone for a misdemeanor crime that doesn't occur in our presence.
The new measure would also allow thousands of state prisoners to petition for a new sentence, releasing about 300 inmates back into Kern County.
Now, Proposition 47 really handcuffed law enforcement, especially when it comes to something like shoplifting. Now, since Proposition 47 reclassified shoplifting from a felony to a misdemeanor, police could only arrest people for misdemeanors if that crime occurred in their presence.
We can't arrest someone for a misdemeanor crime that doesn't occur in our presence. So this is going to be very awkward for the public to accept.
Now, when it comes to shoplifting, most shoplifting events don't occur within the officer's presence. They have to be called to the scene. So, if it's a misdemeanor, officers can't effectuate that arrest. Now, because there were no consequences for shoplifting as long as you kept it under $950, that left people to start shoplifting with impunity.
Surveillance video shows a flash mob of thieves about to strike an Apple store at a mall in Fresno, California. It took only seconds for 4 young men in hoodies to make off with $27,000 in iPhones and laptops. These frightened girls huddled together as the thieves bolted past, knocking down a Good Samaritan who tried to block the exit. Other Apple stores are also finding themselves prime targets. This Apple store in San Francisco has been hit twice.
Yeah, it's been happening over and over, Julie. Thieves thinking they can steal things with impunity, thinking they will never get caught.
It's happened again. 4 women run off after stealing from a CVS pharmacy at Van Ness and Jackson in San Francisco, this time just before 6 Monday night.
It didn't take long. Within the first hour of being at Walgreens on Geary Boulevard and 17th Avenue in San Francisco, we witnessed multiple shoplifters. One of them even took the time to explain why he simply didn't pay.
San Francisco, right?
Off camera, a Walgreens employee told me they're hit anywhere between 15 to 20 times a day.
Take a look at property crime in the Golden State. Reisig notes we were below the national average until 2014. That's when Prop 47 significantly decreased the penalties for drug possession and thefts under $950.
In 2014, after Proposition 47 was passed, you actually had an increase in reported property crime.
Now, because shoplifting became a problem, this led to a whole bunch of stores leaving California.
Surging crime being blamed for the closure of an enormous 65,000 square foot grocery store in San Francisco. Whole Foods is temporarily closing its downtown flagship store.
Walgreens is closing 5 more stores in San Francisco, citing ongoing retail crime.
Denny's in Oakland served its last meal today. After 54 years, the restaurant shut down for good, citing concerns over crime.
Now, we would all think this horrible law would have been enough, but this is California, and they had to go farther. So first, they hired all these progressive prosecutors to go into DA's offices and mayor's offices and not prosecute crime.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. Boudin didn't waste any time stirring things up. His vision is simple: lock up fewer people. It's the same progressive platform that swept a wave of other rookie DAs into office across the country, including Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore in 2015 and Larry Krasner in Philadelphia 3 years later.
Then all these cities started defunding their police departments, thinking that, hey, we don't need police because the police departments were racist.
Defund the police. What does that mean? The Los Angeles City Council approved a $150 million cut to the Los Angeles Police Department's budget on July 1st. Those funds will instead go towards services like mental health and housing. The proposal to defund the police was brought by the People's Budget LA, which is a coalition led by the Black Lives Matter Los Angeles chapter. Their proposal in June called for a 90% LAPD budget cut.
In Oakland now, where about 90 minutes ago, the city council voted to slash more than $17 million from the police budget. That money will be redirected into social services over the next 2 years.
So this led to an unforeseen consequence, like crime exploding.
Data is concerning. Nationwide, violent crime decreased in 2022, but here in California, violent crime increased for the second year in a row. Take a look at this data. After a plateau during COVID, violent crime here spiked, even though it dropped across the nation.
Now, with all these liberal policies essentially killing the state of California, something very interesting happened. During the last presidential election, Trump didn't win the state of California, but he damn sure did better than any Republican has done in a generation. Check it out.
In the state of California, Donald Trump flipped 10 blue counties into red counties. Let's take a look at the map. This is the electoral map. First one on the left-hand side, of course, is from 2020. And then, oh, would you look at that? One of the most liberal parts of the country has become increasingly red. I wonder why that happened.
So now that brings us back to Proposition 47 that essentially made shoplifting and some minor crimes legal, and on top of that released thousands of felons back in the community. Well, on the California ballot, there was a repeal of Proposition 47, and this time it was called Proposition 36.
Prop 36 would roll back changes to criminal laws in California that were made by voters a decade ago. In the year 2014, California voters passed Prop 47, downgrading a bunch of drug and theft crimes from felonies to misdemeanors. Prop 36 would reverse many of those changes. Right now, California laws make it a misdemeanor to steal property worth $950 or less. Under Prop 36, that crime would become a felony if the offender had 2 prior theft convictions.
So opponents to Prop 36 promptly came out and called this bill racist, if this was a racist attempt to harm black and brown people.
Prop 36 reminds me of the bipartisan failures we should have learned from over the last 3 decades.
Want to reverse us back to those days where they could lock up as many black and brown people as possible.
But California had had enough with the race baiting, and they had enough with the crime. So 70% of them said, we're going back to a time of sanity. We're going to repeal Prop 47 by passing Prop 36 with 70% of the vote.
36 gotten a whole lot of attention. This is the issue over whether to reform Prop 47 and make changes when it comes to crime. That's winning big. We can now call that Prop 36 is going to pass.
So Prop 36 is now law, but not everyone has gotten the message.
Kern County's first felony case under Prop 36 played out in court Monday. This man, Dustin Towery, and another man allegedly stole 2 electric scooters from the Target at the shops at Riverwalk earlier this month.
Had it been before the passage of Prop 36,
he would have been given, if caught, which he resisted arrest, but if caught, he would have been given a citation and a promise to appear.
Now, that gentleman was the first gentleman charged under the new law. But remember, this law had been in effect for 10 years. Remember, shoplifting was a misdemeanor. You couldn't even get arrested for it. But now, with new laws, you can. And that's what this alleged shoplifter just found out.
It's a felony. Bitch, new laws. Stealing is a felony. And this is Orange County, bitch. They don't play. That's why I asked what county is this. That's where I went to jail last year and got on probation for a year for stealing out of Target.
Now, police identified these women allegedly through surveillance footage. Like, this woman's sweater seems to match the sweater of one of the suspects. And her friend has some very unique footwear.
It's a felony. Bitch, new laws. Stealing is a felony.